Hey everyone, my name is Alex Kane, co-founder and CEO of Volta.
And everyone, my name's Mitch, CEO and co-founder of Volta.
Volta is a self-serve mixed reality creation platform that gives musicians, creators, performers, pretty much anyone the ability to design and broadcast experiential 3D content like this. It allows artists to bring their fans in using audience interaction tools. It builds into their existing workflows, and best of all, it's free. It mitigates the need not only for the complexity of building next-level mixed reality content, but also the 7+ figure production costs of hiring like a consultancy to do something similar. Essentially, you can think of Volta as Legos for mixed reality, for musicians, for performers, for artists.
And in terms of the problem we're trying to solve for, and really kind of like the inspiration, I guess, behind the Volta origin story was, I guess, a story we're all very familiar with here in the music room, insofar as the pandemic happened, and music was probably the second hardest hit sector globally, second to retail, because musicians typically make, on average, 80% of their income from live events, whether you're a vocalist at a jazz bar, a DJ at a club, a producer at a festival. Live has always been that bread and butter. So what we saw as a response was, the world's biggest artist, I guess defined by reach, kind of looking at that kind of pop spectrum, going off and doing these mixed reality performances in The Wave and Roblox and Fortnite and Sandbox, as referred to earlier. And when some of these performances were done well, the figures were really astronomical. I mean, dare I say it, the Travis Scott and 54 million viewers across one stream, the Lil Nas X and the 8 figures of merch, and really this kind of shook the touring industry on its head because touring managers went, holy crap, it would take me 200 sold out stadiums to get to anywhere near that level of reach. But the problem is with actually making these kind of events is it's super expensive. Typically you need a multi-million-dollar budget, a high-grade production studio with motion capture suits, green screens, specialized hardware, and the list goes on. And on top of that, you've got 6 to 12 months of lead time. So essentially the sheer cost, complexity, and accessibility of this technology has basically meant that if you aren't the capital letters of a festival headliner, you're not going to get access, let alone justify the kind of ROI on this kind of project. So what we saw, was the majority of the market, really the 99% of us, started streaming on Twitch and YouTube. And as we sort of joke internally, watching a 40-year-old white bloke DJing from his bedroom with nothing but 2 decks and a disco ball is super uninspiring. So that schism between the world's biggest names and everyone else just got bigger. And that's really kind of where Volta aims to come to solve for. We're a self-serve tool that any creator, no matter how big or small, can download for free from our website and can essentially create their own 3D immersive experience, sort of in like a drag and drop editor. Everything's inherently audio reactive. So every element, whether you're pulling through a palm tree or in this case, a crystal, it's all audio reactive. So right now, a lot of these particle effects are being driven from my voice. We've got native support with Ableton, with Tractor. We've got most Pioneer DJMs and CDJs kind of hooked up as well. So, if you're a DJ, all you sort of think about is your performance, your set. If you're a producer, we look straight into, off the microphone, for example, right now, where we'll look at different frequency bands. So the whole point is, how do we make this accessible for as many people to be a part of? And that really is kind of where we're at now in terms of the world creation side. And how we look to this in the future is that artists need to make more income. Live events is coming back, and that's fantastic. And we as musicians and the whole company is all some degree a musician in some shape of the word. For us, the mantra is helping artists make more money, actually finding ancillary revenue streams. So what we're working on, and Alex will touch on shortly, is kind of our suite of audience interaction features, a way in which you can really kind of engage your fan base, bring them closer to you as the artist, and actually co-create these kind of experiences together.
So essentially, when you boil all this down, I guess, a really easy sort of mental model that we like to joke about internally at the team, is that everyone wants to be Daft Punk, but nobody realizes that they actually can be. The tools are there now, and this is one of them. I literally made this world on the plane on the way over here in about 30 to 40 minutes.
It's true. It was a pretty cramped flight as well, to be honest.
Yeah. So, creatively, this is great, but how does this shape up in terms of like a business model and a business strategy? So Volta is built on the premise that the future of live entertainment is inherently interactive and participatory. And so we just closed a funding round with support from a lot of the people here, actually. And a lot of people, while we were going through the process of closing, a lot of people would say to us, okay, the tech is really cool, it's pretty sophisticated, but why music? It's notoriously under-monetized. And if you look at it, it's a $30 billion a year industry that is also the most widely consumed entertainment medium. And then you compare that to gaming, which is $300 billion a year. And so our answer to that is because it is notoriously under-monetized. Inder touched on this quite a lot over the course of the morning, but we fully believe that if you apply things like gaming mechanics, like remote user interaction and in-app payments, you can actually drive a ton of value, both in terms of enjoyment, to the audience, but also real revenue to the artist. And so what we're actually working on now is I'm going to show you a feature that we're going to be rolling out over the summer to a bunch of festivals, and then we're planning on productizing this hopefully by September. But essentially, what you see here is in addition to our very talented COO, Mitch is actually legitimately a great DJ.
This is not a self-promotion exercise, I promise.
So essentially what we've done is we've turned the different major 2D streaming platforms into globally accessible Volta controllers. We don't have a 2D endpoint or any sort of streaming endpoint. We're letting artists send their content to wherever their fans already are. And so what we've done here is we've turned the chat window in Twitch, in YouTube, and different 2D streaming platforms into, like I said, a way to control Volta. So you can literally type in keywords into the chat window. We have a chatbot that picks it up, and then it actually changes the content that you're watching. And so I typed in the word dots, and you saw Mitch turned into psychedelic Skittle dot things. Within a second or two. And so not only can you as an artist choose the keywords, you can choose subscription tiers, you can choose bits, you can choose redemption points, which means that you can monetize every audience interaction. And this doesn't only work online for live streaming, it actually works for live events as well. So I mentioned this earlier, but in October of this year, we partnered with Anjuna Deep to do the show, The Brooklyn Mirage. Volta not only, it makes a whole spatial world, and so we were not only able to output a full 360 video of that world, rendering in real time from the music coming off the soundboard. All of the movement, all of the changes were from the music being driven off the soundboard, but in addition to that, we actually did we ran our first major test of the audience interaction tools. So we only gave it to about 20 or 30 people, but we gave a private Twitch stream and the keywords Volta, Brooklyn, and Mirage to a handful of people. And if you typed in the word Volta, this ripple shot out around all 6,000 people in the crowd on the walls of the venue. If you typed in the word Brooklyn, there was this particle burst on the right side of the venue, and then if you typed in the word Mirage, there was this tessellated effect on the left side of the venue. And actually, one of our we're based in London, and so one of our investors in London was actually controlling the walls of the Brooklyn Mirage from Twitch in Volta during the event. One other story that I'd really like to tell, and this also illustrates kind of how easy this is to use. I'm American, live in London. I hadn't seen my parents for about 4 or 5 months, and so go to the show. They came up from Baltimore, where I'm from, And my parents know what I do, but they don't really know what I do. So for them to see it, was both very cool for me and a kind of a proud parent moment for them. And my mom came into the booth, and there's some kind of like macro controls that I was like doing on a MIDI controller. And my mom goes, "What does that one do?" And I'm just like, "Do it, go for it." And she moved the fader, and the whole of the Brooklyn Mirage turns into this like super rich purple. And she's like, "Holy shit, that's awesome!" I was like, and she's like, "What does that one do?" I'm like, "Go for it." And I literally, after that, I was like, I made it pretty foolproof. I made it easy for me, so it was easy enough. It was easy enough for her as well. And I literally was like, "You go for it. I need to go to the bathroom." I had to go for like an hour, and I just let my mom take over. So my mom VJ'd a rave at the Brooklyn Mirage in October of this year. Great. I love that story. I just wanted to tell that story.
The test is always, can you get your mum to understand what you do, right, in that respect? But like a lot of what we talked around so far has been a lot of these kind of high-scale activations, right? The Brooklyn Mirage, we have a really, really exciting pipeline of some of the largest festivals in the world upcoming. But really the kind of point behind all of this is, we think at least, that too many people for too long have tried to monetize artists outright. There's so many toolings out there and so many different kind of packs and different ways to kind of do it. And fundamentally, artists, 90% of them at least, only make $15,000 a year. And really, when we go into the mechanics of what Alex was describing through game mechanics, what Tracy Chans, the head of music at Twitch, came out with a statement saying is that in order to earn $50,000 a year on Twitch, you only need 183 concurrent users on a given stream. And sorry, thank you, Alex. And the point really being is that you don't need a massive fan base. You just need a passionate one. And that's the exact sort of fabric that we're kind of really interweaving into everything we do at Volta. It's to help the artists make more money. And really, what's this mean then if you are an artist, if you are a venue organizer, a festival organizer, like what's this actually benefit you? Well, increasingly what we're seeing with our partners is being this sort of one-stop shop for visuals. Again, a lot of what we focused on has been around the live streaming or the live side of things. But what we're seeing is, an artist will have, let's say, a single coming out, and we'll look to do a music video. And rather than having to do production costs, let's say, on the music video itself, followed by new touring assets and new live streaming assets, essentially you just create one Volta world from the comfort of your bedroom or on a flight. And that is the content that you can then reuse and repurpose for all these sort of different experiences you're sort of doing. So, one-stop shop for visuals, tying in the audience interaction side of things. It's a way in which not only can you get your fans who are actually live in venue, whether it's a club, whether it's a festival, or everything in between, to kind of actually co-create that experience like Alex's mum was doing and one of our investors in London. But using that global scale component where we're seeing more and more event organizers look at adding that live stream component to extend scale and reach. Well, you're really bringing in that international audience, that global audience that can't be there and can essentially do the same things that anyone in venue can do. So it's really a way of magnifying reach, and also, of course, brand awareness, right? Really looking at this kind of tech in a way that is super visually compelling.
So to wrap up, what does this mean for the future of this industry? And zooming out, what does it mean for the future of entertainment, in general as a whole? We firmly believe that mixed reality is going to become an art form in its own right, on par with music and gaming and film and theater and et cetera. But it's going to be driven by interaction. It's going to be driven by participation, such that again, experience itself becomes a canvas. And in this future of entertainment, where experience itself is this canvas, our aim is to make Volta the de facto paintbrush. So thank you for checking it out, and download Volta for free right now if you want to. Volta-xr.com. Thanks, everyone.